right, welcome. This conversation with Shemeka brought to you by our great friends at Cardio Miracle. Support healthy blood flow and deliver more vitamins, nutrients, and minerals to your entire body. Get started now for a healthier, happier you by visiting cardiomiracle.com/fearless. Receive 10% off your first order, 15% if you choose to subscribe and save. They also offer a 60-day, no-risk, 100% money-back guarantee. Shemeka, I got something fun or interesting for us to talk about here. Doritos perhaps is going to be Bud Light 2.0.
Dude, what are you doing?
Doritos has gotten into bed with one of these transgender men, Sam Hudson. He calls himself Samantha. I'll call him Sam.
Say my name.
He's a brand ambassador for Doritos, I think in Spain or something. But let's watch a clip of Sam Hudson commenting about Doritos. Or let's watch this clip of Sam Hudson.
Yo abogo por aniquilar y destruir por completamente, abolir la familia tradicional nuclear monógama. No es que vaya a darle una paliza a mis padres, ni mucho menos, pero creo que ya está bien de tener un canon estandarizado.
English, dude. English.
Well, I hope you understood all that. I speak Spanish fluently, and I think he said that, hey, I've got a bat and balls, but I think I'm a girl, and Doritos tastes good when I'm tossing salads. Let me stop.
I bring out the worst in you.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So anyway, that's the new. This dude's like a pedophile. This dude's got some real nasty history to him, and I know this is happening over in Spain, but I think I would think Doritos started here in America. What's this deal? Why are all these corporations getting in bed with dudes who think they're women?
Because they're gay.
This is absolutely insane to me. And I had to ask myself when I saw this, like, how much do I like Doritos? Would I be okay without them? And the answer is yes. So I also sent it to my children because if anyone is going to buy Doritos, it's going to be them. I just think this is ridiculous, Jason. Like the things that this man has said, I could be okay with him dressing like a woman and I guess. But he promotes pedophilia. He promotes the rape of children or making jokes about it. That's just not funny. And so I cannot understand how any executive sitting in their office said to themselves, yes, this is the person that we need to have represent our brand. Like if you really wanted a man in a dress, there are so many others that you could have chosen from, and I just don't get it. This is absolutely crazy.
It is crazy, and it just speaks to conversations we've been having over the past week or two about it's an organized deal that everybody has to promote, be an ally for, publicly support the LGBTQIA plus silent P movement. And someone that promotes pedophilia can somehow be a brand ambassador for any product is just amazing to me, but it speaks to, the depths we've fallen to. And yes, I love Doritos, but it's like, if I can break off a 54-year relationship with Ronald McDonald, I can do the exact same thing to Doritos. I kicked Ronald McDonald's in the double filet of fish sandwich to the curb 2 years ago, and I haven't looked back. I do think fondly of the double filet of fish sandwich, but I kicked him to the curb. And if I have to with Doritos, I will as well. But the only thing I worry about is, like, let's say we kick Doritos to the curb, and I would bet the same people probably own Tostitos or whatever brand you might switch to. They're probably invested in them, and none of this processed food is good for you. And so maybe this is just some more impetus that I need to kick all of this processed food to the curb. But it's just everybody has to. Who was it that said? Who did I just hear? Was it Cat Williams talking with? Cat Williams talking with Joe Rogan, saying that basically everybody has to kiss the rear end of the Baphomet.
In the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring.
And that's all this is. Corporations and individuals that speak for corporations, spokespeople, all have to get on board with some sort of sexual depravity or perversion.
Yeah, and it's crazy that just last year in 2023, we were saying the P is silent. Now the P is not even silent anymore. And for the people that were saying this transgender stuff is a gateway to pedophilia, and people said, oh, you're crazy. Y'all are conspiracy theorists, and you're just, pushing the right-leaning or far-right talking points. Here we are now, because so many people now don't even want you referring to it as pedophilia. They say MAP, or minor attracted persons. And it's like, why are we changing the lingo? We know when they start to change the lingo, it's because they want to make it more acceptable. And I just don't understand how people are refusing to actually see this. The P is no longer silent. When you're willing to put somebody and make them the face of your brand, who would actually say the things that this man has said, you're not being silent anymore. And we know that a lot of times these things start overseas and they slowly make their way to America. I can remember making the argument about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, that they were teaching little boys that they could have periods. And I firmly remember someone saying to me, that's not happening in America. But it is, because now we are allowing little boys to claim they're little girls. We have maxi pads in boys' restrooms. We don't want, to say these things belong to women. We don't want to call mothers mothers. They have to be child bearers or those who give birth.
Do you know what the leading cause of death for pregnant people is?
Pregnant people?
Mm-hmm.
Mothers?
Silly things now, when just 6-7 years ago, people were telling me that I was crazy for a video that I did talking about men can't have periods. Oh, that's not happening here, but now it is. And now look, the P is no longer silent. It's loud, extremely loud.
Push a P.
Made this point before, but it's worth repeating. There is a slippery slope. And it all begins with, they just want to get married. That's all. They just want to be just like everybody else and just get married. Just let them get married, and then it'll all be over. That's the slippery slope. And it's people will hear that and say that, oh, I'm just anti-gay people, and perhaps I am. Because the Bible says I should be. So, but more important than any of that, than my individual position on same-sex marriage, it's about, there has to be a standard, because once you start moving away from the standard, you're going to start legalizing and normalizing everything. And that's what we've done. And so I just, people have to at some point wake up, and we're going to have to reevaluate everything. What I've always contended, now again, there have been, because there was a brief moment in time where they kind of had gotten me, and I was like, yeah, just let them do it and it'll be over with. I kind of fell for that okie doke. But it's just not true. And what people are going to have to get comfortable with And trust me, I regret my decisions and I regret my mindset. But when I was of the mindset, like, man, monogamy, man, that's some BS. At least I was willing to say, like, well, Whitlock, you don't plan on being monogamous, so don't get married. And so if you're not planning to be monogamous, don't get married. And so I had to deal with, like, marriage, and I regret it now because, now I would be more than willing to get married and be in a monogamous relationship, and I thought foolishly. But we've reached this conclusion that everything is for everybody, and it's just not true. And I crack little jokes and say, hey, you know what, size 34 jeans, they're not for me.
Kramer, they're painted on.
The slim fit. Slim fit? Yeah, they're streamlined. You're walking like Frankenstein.
They may be for Mike or, Luke or someone else here in the office, but they're not for me. And marriage, if you like the same sex, hey, marriage isn't for you. And just deal with that. And just accept that. The same way I had to accept that, 34 jeans aren't for me. And the same way I was like, well, I'm not going to lie to some woman and, commit to marriage and not be real with it. So just acknowledge some things aren't for you. Go the civil union route. But we had to say, nope, everything's for everybody, and these are the consequences.
Yeah, now, Jason, I have so many questions. Like, did you not just want to be faithful to one woman? Did you want to have 2 or 3 wives all under the same roof? Like, now, I really want to get into your head. What was Jason thinking? How dark
idolized
can you
my
be?
dad. I idolized my dad, and my dad was a player, plain and simple. And, that's just who my dad was, and that's who his friends were. They were ghetto superstars that had their way with, women in their social circles. And I define that as the ultimate manhood. And, again, I love my father. My father's very smart, but my father was not religious. He was not a believer. And so he set a standard for me, and what I thought was cool, and that just led me down a wrong path, and I got caught up, and a lot of it based out of insecurity. The more you get, the better you are, and it was all just stupid foolishness. And then by the time you throw in the racial dynamic of, anyway, I don't want to unpack this whole thing because it's stressful. We already did it last week. You know how many emails I got last week?
Oh, come on! Oh. What a bunch of whiners. This is going to suck up my whole life.
Some people like, man, what an honest conversation you and Shemeka had, and they loved it. Some people were upset. I'll never watch the show again. You and Shemeka are racist. And I'm like, come on now. Ain't nobody calling me racist.
Yeah, I had a
I'm just
feeling
keeping
that
it real.
would happen.
So I'm not gonna let you take me there today. But thank you, Shemeka. Great job as always. Thanks for watching. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with all of our latest content.